Hello everyone, welcome again to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to tackle about the history of communication. Do you want to know that? Let's go! The history of communication spans thousands of years and can be divided into several key stages. It begins with visual era, wired era, and the last one is the wireless era. These stages used by the people in this generation presently. Let's begin in the visual era. Visual communication has a long and rich history that dates back to the prehistoric times when cave paintings were used to convey information and tell stories. The ancient Egyptians used hieroglyphs to communicate, while the Greeks developed a system of symbols that became the foundation of the modern alphabet. So I have found an example object or way to communicate in the visual era. So the first one is the smoke signals. Smoke signals is the one of the earliest form of the long-distance communication used by indigenous cultures like Native Americans and ancient Chinese, often to signal warnings or send basic messages. So next is the semaphore towers, a system of conveying messages via visual signals from tower to tower using arms or flags, notably used in France during the Napoleonic Wars. Next is cave paintings. Some of the earliest form of visual communication, such as Lascaux cave paintings in France, back around 17 years. This depicted animals and human activities, serving as a form of storytelling and recording knowledge for the future generations. So next is photography and lithography. So with the advent of photography and lithographic printing in the 19th century, visual communication expanded dramatically. Images were used, newspapers, books, and advertisements, helping to communicate ideas, news, and marketing messages more efficiently. So the last one for the visual era is the printing press. So Johannes Gutenberg's invention revolutionized communication by enabling the mass production of books. So this made literature and information more accessible, leading to widespread literacy and dissemination of ideas, especially during the Renaissance. So everyone, let's move to the next stage of communication, the wired era. Since it started in the 80s, wired network technology has made leaps and bounds in its development. Like wireless network communication, it continues to develop and test the limits of speed as researchers discover faster ways to transmit data. So there are also 5 things or ways to communicate using the wired era. First is the telegraph in 1837. Invented by Samuel Morse, the telegraph allowed messages to be transmitted over long distances using Morse code via wired connection. It was the foundation of modern telecommunication. The next one is the telephone in 1876. So Alexander Graham Bell's invention revolutionized personal communication by transmitting voice signals through wires. So the next one is the undersea telegraph cables in 1850s onward. So the laying of undersea telegraph cables connected continents and enabled rapid communication across the ocean. So the first successful transatlantic cable was completed in 1858, dramatically changing an international communication. So the fourth one is television networks in 1930s onward. Early television networks relied on coaxial cables to transmit signals between broadcasting stations. Wired infrastructure was essential to link regional and national TV networks for live broadcasts before satellite and wireless technologies became widespread. So the last one for the wired era is coaxial cable networks in 1920s onward. So coaxial cables were an essential technology for wired communication supporting telephone, radio, and television networks. These cables could carry large amount of data over long distances, helping to connect urban and rural areas with broadcast and communication services. So everyone, we're now to the final stage of communication, which is the wireless era. The first use of wireless communication was in 1849 when Heinrich Hertz demonstrated the transmission of electromagnetic waves through space. So it became very popular in early 1985 and is now essential for everyday life. So the history of wireless telegraphy is littered with examples of important technological breakthroughs that influence how we think and about telecommunications today. So there are also 5 things or ways to communicate in the wireless era. So first one is radio. With Guglielmo Marconi's advancements, radio became a major tool wireless communication, particularly useful in military, maritime, and also the mass communication. So the next is cellular phones. Mobile phones revolutionized personal and business communication by allowing wireless voice and data communication using radio waves and cellular networks. So it is very popular in this generation, especially in the millennials. And the next one is satellite communications in 1962. So the launch of Telstar 1, the first active communication satellite, allowed for the transmission of live television broadcasts across the Atlantic. So this ushered in the era of global wireless communication, reducing reliance on the undersea cables. So the fourth one is Wi-Fi and wireless internet. So the development of Wi-Fi in the late 1990s revolutionized wireless data transmission. So it allowed devices like computers, smartphones, and tablets to connect the internet without physical cables, transforming how people access communication and information online. So the last one for the wireless era is the introduction of Bluetooth. So Bluetooth technology, introduced in the late 1990s, enabled short-range wireless communication between devices. So it was widely adopted by the personal devices like headphones, keyboards, and smartphones, providing a convenient way to connect without cables. Okay guys, that ends up our discussion for today's video. We have learned about the history of communication and it evolves through 3 stages. What was the first one? Yes, the visual era. The second one? Exactly, the wired era. And the last one? Yes, the wireless era. I hope you learned something for today's video. Goodbye and God bless. Thank you.